Welcome to Statistics, everyone. Today we're going to look at some of the basic definitions of statistics and start looking at measures of center, or what's called central tendency, and look at a concept that you've probably heard of but didn't quite understand, the percentile concept. So first off, a variable is any characteristic, a number, or quantity that can be counted or measured. So basically a variable is an item of data. Data referring to anything that we can count or be measured. We do have two different types of data. Data that can be measured is called quantitative data. Typically that is data that can be described using numbers. And then data that can be organized into different categories is going to be called categorical or qualitative data. So again, quantitative data is numbers, is a piece of data that can be described using a number, whereas qualitative data is going to be put into categories. Measures of what is commonly known as the average is also called measures of center or central tendency, and the most common measures of center are the mean, median, and mode. So we're going to talk about the first part is how to compute the mean, median, and mode and what it means. So the mean is the sum of values in a data set divided by, and the book was wrong on that, it's supposed to say divided by the total number of values in the set. This is what we commonly think of when we think about averages, that you add all the numbers together and divide by how many pieces of data there are. In statistics, this is specifically the mean of the data set. Try to avoid referring to anything as an average, because technically the mean, median, and mode are all different ways to compute the average, but the mean is the way that you probably think about in terms of average, where you add all the pieces of data together and divide by how many there are. The median is the middle value or the mean of two middle values of a data set when the data is arranged in numerical order. So when you arrange the data in numerical order, you're going to have an exact number in the middle. That would be the median, or if there's not an exact number in the middle, because there is two numbers in the middle, you would find the mean of those two numbers by adding them together and dividing them by 2. The mode is the value or values that appear the most often in a set of data. If no number appears more than once, then we say we'll have no mode. There could be one number that appears more than once and more than all the other numbers in the data set. That would be considered one mode. And it is possible to have numbers that a tie for appearing the most often, so there could be more than one mode. So when it's asking to find the mode, it might as well say to potentially find the modes, because there could be more than one. So let's compute some measures of center. The table shows the number of hits Julius made for his baseball team. Find the mean, median, and the mode. So the mean is we're going to add all the data together and divide by how many pieces of data there are. So he hit 3 for the Badgers, plus 6 for the Hornets, plus 4 for the Bulldogs, plus no hits for the Vikings, so 0, plus 3 for the Rangers, plus 7. And since there are 6 pieces of data, we would divide that by 6. So 3 plus 6 plus 4 plus 3 plus 7 is 23. And when you take 23 divided by 6, and let's just round to the nearest hundredth. It doesn't specifically say what we needed to round to, so I'll just pick the hundredths place. We get a mean of 3.83. That's the mean. The median is the number that appears the most, or the number that appears in the middle, as long as it's in numerical order and the data set is not in numerical order. So we're going to have to spend some time putting it in numerical order. So the lowest number was 0. And then there were a couple of 3s, so I'll put 3 and 3. And then we have a 4, and then a 6, and then a 7. So as I look at the data set to compute the median, I notice that there is not one number in the exact middle. I can't say it's the 3 because that means there are 3 digits over here and only 2 over here. So it is not the 3. And it is also not the 4 for the same reason, because there's 2 digits on the right side and 3 pieces of data on the left side, so I can't say it's the 4. So the numbers in the exact middle are actually the 3 and the 4. So to find the median, we will put 3 plus 4 and divide that by 2, which means we get a median of 3.5. And then the mode will be the number that appears the most often, and the 3 appears twice, and no other number appears twice, so that means the mode is 3. So one of the things we do in statistics is analyze data. It's probably more about analyzing data and less about computing the data. So notice that in this data set that the mean and the median are very close together. So they actually both represent a very good average of Julius's numbers of hits. Notice that the median is greater than the mean, and what this indicates is that the games with fewer hits than the median are more spread out than the games with more hits than the median. So notice that if we look at the games with fewer hits than the median, they were relatively close together. You had 0 and then you had a couple of 3s. And then the numbers that were larger than the median, the 4, 6, and 7, were a bit more spread out. They were all different numbers. They didn't have a tie like we had with the mode with 3, but they were all spread out, and that's why the median or the mean was actually a little bit higher than the median. So we look at things like that to analyze data. Here's one that's a little bit more complicated. Compare and contrast the measures of the center of the employee's salary for the 2 stores. Based on the statistics, which store pays its employees better? So we've got two companies that do hourly salaries. Big Win Games, they've got their 8 employees and what they're paid. Game Place, we can see their 8 employees and what they're paid. We want to look at the salaries and see which company pays the store, or which company pays its employees better. So we're going to compute all 3 measures of center for both companies and then compare their measures of center. So let's start with the mean. So the mean from Big Win Games, we're going to add all those salaries together and divide by 8 because there's 8 employees. So you'll add 10.80 plus 11 plus 1150 plus 10 plus 1090 plus 1390 plus 1080 plus 1120. When you add all that up, you get 90.1. And then we divide that by 8. And you get, if we round it to the nearest cent, we get $11.26. If we do the same thing for Game Place, and we add up all their salaries, so we would add 950 plus 950 plus 1040 plus 1040 plus another 950 plus 1080 plus 2050 plus 950. When you add that up, you get 90.1. We divide that by 8. We also get $11.26 approximately for their mean salary. So it looks like they actually pay the same amount. So let's look a little bit deeper and check out the mean, the median, and the mode as well. So for Big Win Games, notice that the salaries are not in order, so we're going to have to spend some time putting them in numerical order. And there I've done so very quickly, put the Big Win Games salaries or hourly wages in numerical order. And notice, just like in the first example, there are 2 numbers in the middle, 1090 and 11. So to find the median, we would take 1090 plus 11 and divide it by 2, which means we would come up with a median of $10.95. We'll do the same thing to find the median for the Game Place. That company is also not numerical order, so we'll have to put those in numerical order. And there we go. I've put the gameplay or wages in numerical order. And the number in the exact middle between 950 and 1040, so I would add those together, divided by 2, would give us $9.95. So notice that the median salary for Big Win Games is $10.95, whereas the median salary for Gameplace is $9.95. And then we have the mode being the piece of data that appears the most often. And so for Big Win Games, it does look like the 1080 appears twice. No other number appears twice, so the mode is 1080. And then for Gameplace, there is 950 that appears 4 times. So that one is definitely the mode for Gameplace. There is a 1040 that appears twice, but since four times is more than 2 times, the only mode for Gameplace is 950. So based on the statistics, which store pays its employees better? And I would say definitely Big Win Games. Notice that even though both of their means are the same, the median, the mode for Big Win Games is far higher than the median, the mode for Gameplay. So I would definitely want to work at Big Win Games because you're most likely to get paid higher there than at Gameplace. Now, why is that? Why is the median and the mode so much higher, even though the means are the same? And it has a lot to do with this salary right here. That $20.50 salary, that's probably a supervisor or somebody that has been there for a long time. Notice that they are the only salary that is higher than the mean of $11.26. The 7 other salaries are less than the mean, so that one number increased the mean a lot, and that means the mean is probably not a good indicator of what you would get paid if you started working at Gameplace.